Is the rip in the San Andreas Fault a real danger? Will catastrophic flooding cause widespread damage? Just what is NASA going to do to fix things? Discover the many outcomes of the broken fault line as you investigate the repercussions of this frightening announcement. Get ready for an informative dive into the topic of natural disasters. NASA, the renowned space organization known for its exploration of the cosmos, has issued a stern warning about the impending fracture in California's notorious San Andreas Fault, which has come as a stunning revelation. NASA is recognized for its exploration of the heavens. Seismologists and people who specialize in disaster management have been concerned about this geological fault line for a very long time because of the possibility that it would be the source of devastating earthquakes. Now, with NASA's revelation, fears have grown to a new level, elevating concerns of a big calamity that might have devastating repercussions for the area. The fault in the San Andreas region. A tectonic plate barrier known as the San Andreas Fault may be found running for roughly 800 miles through the state of California. It is the location where two of the Earth's huge tectonic plates, the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate, come together at this point. Along the course of the fault, stress is progressively building up as a result of the continuous movement of the plates. When the pressure builds up to an unacceptable level, it is released in the form of violent earthquakes, which have the potential to wreak havoc on the surrounding environment and take lives. The warning issued by NASA and its repercussions. Because of NASA's cutting-edge satellite photography and geospatial analysis, scientists have been able to notice minute changes in the surface of the Earth's crust, which in turn enables them to forecast the possibility of fault line activity. Recent data that was acquired by technology developed by NASA reveals a trend that is cause for concern, an alarming increase in the accumulation of tension along the San Andreas Fault. The sudden increase in pressure has prompted experts to sound the alarm, and NASA has issued a warning that a fracture is drawing near. The consequences of a significant rupture anywhere along the San Andreas Fault would be quite devastating. The population centers of California, such as the state's two most populous cities, Los Angeles and San Francisco, are located in close proximity to the fault line. In this area, a big earthquake might cause extensive damage to the infrastructure, loss of life, and significant disruptions to both the economy and daily life. Efforts made regarding preparedness and mitigation. Because the San Andreas Fault is associated with a high level of danger, a significant amount of work has been done over the years to improve readiness and reduce the likelihood of any potential harm. Building rules have been made more stringent to ensure that structures can withstand seismic activity. These codes have been adopted by local authorities in conjunction with state and federal agencies. In the event that a significant earthquake strikes, preparations have been made to efficiently coordinate activities for rescue and relief, including the development of emergency response plans and methods for disaster management. After hearing what NASA has to say on the matter, these preparations will most certainly be stepped up. It is essential to conduct public awareness campaigns in order to educate and teach communities about the protocols for earthquake safety, evacuation methods, and the significance of having preparedness kits on hand. In addition, infrastructure projects that are targeted at reinforcing essential structures, including hospitals, bridges, and power plants, could have their timelines accelerated in order to reduce the amount of potential damage. The fault stretches for more than 800 miles, all the way from the Gulf of California to Western California, and it has an impact on a number of places along the way. One of the most famous and important geological structures in North America is a fault that runs along the San Andreas Range and goes by the name of the San Andreas Fault. Its existence has left an imprint on the terrain and a mark on the lives of millions of people who live in the area immediately surrounding it. At the transform boundary known as the San Andreas Fault, two tectonic plates, namely the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate, slide past each other in a horizontal direction. This movement is to blame for the regular seismic activity that can be felt in the vicinity. The impact of the fault is not limited to the actual movement of the Earth's crust. It also has cultural, economic, and historical significance for the towns that it passes through. The Coachella Valley, which may be found in Southern California, is recognized as one of the regions most significantly impacted by the San Andreas Fault. This location is located in close proximity to the fault and is well known for the thriving tourism business it supports, as well as its verdant date palm groves. The existence of the fault has led to a large number of earthquakes over the course of time. Some of these quakes have resulted in considerable damage to the surrounding infrastructure and have impacted local companies. Nevertheless, the tenacity of the communities in the Coachella Valley is clear to see as they continue to develop and rebuild despite the ever-present danger posed by seismic activity. The San Francisco Bay Area is another region that will be affected by the earthquake as you move north along the fault line. Because of its proximity to the fault, this heavily populated region is not only home to well-known monuments like the Golden Gate Bridge and Silicon Valley, but it is also extremely prone to earthquakes. The cataclysmic earthquake that struck San Francisco in 1906 and took place along the San Andreas Fault has left an indelible mark on the city's history. Since that time, an extensive amount of efforts have been done to upgrade the infrastructure and modify structures so that they can resist future seismic activity. Despite this, the Bay Area continues to maintain a high level of vigilance and readiness, holding exercises on a regular basis and emphasizing the need for earthquake preparedness among its inhabitants. As one travels farther north, one encounters communities that are impacted by the Central Valley Fault. The Central Valley is an agriculturally prosperous region that is also known as the breadbasket of California. In this location, the presence of the fault has an effect on the topography and hydrology of the area. The fault's movement causes the land to shift, which results in the formation of different topographic features like scarps and ridges, which in turn affect the flow of rivers and the amount of water that is available for irrigation. Farmers in the area have responded to the challenges posed by these conditions by developing and implementing novel approaches to water management in order to maintain the profitability of their farms. Due to the effects it has had on the physical landscape, the San Andreas Fault has come to represent the indomitable character of Californians. It acts as a reminder of the geologic variety that the state possesses, as well as the consistent requirement to be resilient in the face of hardship. In order to improve earthquake prediction and response tactics, scientists and researchers are keeping a careful eye on the fault, analyzing its behavior, and collecting data about it. It has been a priority to educate communities and develop a culture of preparedness as part of the efforts to educate the public about earthquake preparedness, which has become a priority for the efforts to raise public knowledge about earthquake preparedness. The influence of the fault can be felt in locations other than the communities that are physically located along its route. It has inspired authors, filmmakers, and artists who have portrayed its force and unpredictability in a variety of kinds of media due to the fact that it has captured the imagination of readers. The San Andreas Fault has become an integral part of the state of California's identity, serving both as a symbol of the state's extensive geological history and a constant reminder of the ever-evolving nature of our planet. Both of these aspects contribute to the fault's iconic status. What does the research indicate? A portion of the San Andreas Fault may have been subject to seismic creep and may have undergone earthquakes with a magnitude of 7 or higher during the past 3 million years. The San Andreas Fault is one of the most well-known and prominent fault lines in California. It runs the length of the state, which is around 800 miles, and is considered to be one of the most dangerous fault lines in the world. When the Pacific Plate and the North American collide, a transform boundary is formed. This border is responsible for tectonic activity as well as seismic occurrences. The term seismic creep refers to the ongoing movement along a fault that takes place at a sluggish pace and does not result in a significant earthquake. Seismic creep, in contrast to earthquakes, which are often linked with abrupt and jolting motions along fault lines, takes place when the rocks on either side of the fault gradually slip past one another. This movement is normally too slow to be felt by people, and it is also too slow to inflict major harm, yet it is detectable using a variety of monitoring systems. The San Andreas Fault has been the subject of numerous studies, and those studies have uncovered evidence of seismic creep along particular parts. The creeping portion that can be found in central California and stretches all the way from Colame Valley to Parkfield is one example of one of these sections. This region has shown signs of a consistent release of strain through modest fault slippage, but it has not had any significant earthquakes. This creeping portion is expected to have experienced constant movement of around 2 to 5 millimeters per year during the course of its existence. Because it indicates that the built-up stress along the fault is being progressively released over time, the presence of seismic creep in this particular segment of the San Andreas Fault is relevant because it signifies that the likelihood of a big earthquake capable of causing catastrophic damage may be reduced. However, it is essential to keep in mind that seismic creep does not totally do away with the prospect of a big earthquake. Instead, it could change the behavior of earthquakes by dispersing stress along the fault. Scientists have been able to estimate the occurrence of greater earthquakes in the region's past by researching the geological aspects of the region, as well as historical data from the area. Paleoseismic studies entail studying layers of sediments and deformations along the fault to uncover evidence of prior seismic events. Paleoseismic studies are also known as paleo-earthquake research. Earthquakes measuring 7 or higher on the Richter scale have occurred during the past 3 million years. Trenching across a fault line is a common part of paleoseismic research. This helps expose the various layers of sediment as well as the movement of the fault. Researchers are able to calculate the duration of prior earthquakes as well as their magnitude by conducting an analysis of the exposed layers. These studies have helped us gain a better understanding of the San Andreas Fault's seismic history and the behavior of earthquakes in the region, both of which have been greatly aided by the information supplied by these studies. For the purposes of earthquake preparedness and risk assessment in California, having a solid understanding of the seismic activity along the San Andreas Fault is essential. The fault poses a severe threat to populated areas, including key cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles, which are both located in California. Scientists are able to improve their ability to anticipate the behavior of the fault and assess the possibility of future earthquakes if they can locate particular segments of the fault that have been subjected to seismic creep. An important and urgent warning has been issued by Thomas Jordan, who is the acclaimed director of the Southern California Earthquake Center. He warns that the fault line that runs beneath Southern California has reached a critical state, putting the region susceptible to a significant earthquake. The fault line in question runs along the San Andreas Fault. Jordan, drawing on his years of experience and considerable research, stresses the critical importance of being prepared and taking preventive action in order to lessen the impact of any potential destruction. This article dives into Jordan's perspective, illuminating the gravity of the situation and the repercussions it may have for the people who live in Southern California. The current position of the fault in the Earth. According to Thomas Jordan, who has extensive knowledge and awareness of seismic activity, the fault line in Southern California has reached a vital juncture. Jordan bases this assertion on his expertise and understanding of seismic activity. The fissure has been subjected to a steadily increasing amount of pressure and stress over the course of many years, bringing it dangerously near to breaking. According to Jordan, the tectonic plates that have been locked together along the fault have accumulated a great amount of energy, which has caused the pressure to rise. Due to the unstable nature of the situation, a significant earthquake could take place at any moment, which would have devastating repercussions. The consequences and the potential for total destruction. An earthquake of significant magnitude in Southern California would have catastrophic effects on the surrounding area. The fault line runs in close proximity to the densely populated areas and essential infrastructure of Los Angeles, San Diego, and other neighboring cities. Jordan is concerned that an earthquake of this magnitude might release significant ground shaking, which would result in significant damage to buildings, roads, and other facilities. In addition to this, it has the potential to cause landslides, tsunamis, and disruptions to key services, all of which can result in widespread anarchy and loss of life. The importance of prevention and preparedness measures. Thomas Jordan emphasizes the significance of being prepared and taking preventative action in light of the imminence of the possibility of a catastrophic earthquake. He urges those living in Southern California and the authorities there to take the appropriate precautions to lessen the severity of the potential damage. This includes the implementation of severe building rules, the retrofitting of older structures, and the strengthening of vital infrastructure so that it can survive seismic activity. In addition, Initiatives for public education and awareness should be started to ensure that people are well informed about the processes for earthquake safety and evacuation preparations. Cooperation and scholarly investigation both continue. In order to have a better understanding of earthquakes in the future and to be better prepared for them, Thomas Jordan stresses the importance of joint scientific study. Under his direction, the Southern Californian Earthquake Center has continued to play an essential role in the conduct of cutting-edge research and the monitoring of seismic activity. Jordan and his colleagues intend to improve earthquake forecasting and early warning systems by cultivating collaborations with universities, government organizations, and other research institutes. This will result in the provision of essential information that will assist in the preparation for potential disasters. Even in a world that is racked by natural calamities on a regular basis, seismic activity continues to be one of the most dangerous and unpredictable dangers. Along a certain fault line, there is the possibility that an earthquake of magnitude 7.9 will occur in the near future. An incident of this nature would have devastating repercussions, including a staggering amount of casualties, enormous financial losses, and extended disruptions in normal business operations. It is essential for both preparation and an efficient reaction to have a solid understanding of the probable consequences that could result from this calamity. Earthquake with a magnitude of 7.9, the imminent catastrophe. The region that is in danger of being affected by the hypothetical earthquake of magnitude 7.9 is the area that surrounds the fault line. This magnitude of seismic activity is considered to be a big earthquake, which has the potential to cause considerable property damage and loss of life. There is a lot of uncertainty around the precise location and timing of such an event, but the lessons that can be learned from history tell us that areas that are located on active fault lines are susceptible to severe earthquakes. Injury count, the human cost of the chaos. In the early aftermath of an earthquake with a magnitude of 7.9, there would be an unbelievable number of people injured. The magnitude of the seismic activity would bring about the collapse of buildings, as well as damage to infrastructure, which would cause widespread panic. It is anticipated that roughly 50,000 people will sustain injuries, with a significant number of them experiencing severe traumatic injuries such as fractures and lacerations. The already precarious state of affairs would become much more dire as the overburdened healthcare system struggled to deal with the increased number of patients. The economic repercussions, which amount to a burden of billions of dollars. The economic cost of a 7.9 magnitude earthquake would be unimaginably high. It is anticipated that the total amount of damages will reach an astounding $200 billion. This estimate takes into account the damage done to buildings, infrastructure, and essential services such as electrical grids, water distribution networks, and transportation networks, among other things. The economy as a whole would come to a grinding halt, which would result in widespread unemployment and a protracted road to recovery. The economic repercussions would be felt far beyond the immediate impact zone, having an effect on the economies of the surrounding region as well as the nation as a whole for many years to come. Extended interruptions, damage to critical infrastructure and everyday activities. The destruction brought on by an earthquake of magnitude 7.9 would have an unparalleled impact on people's ability to go about their daily lives. Important pieces of infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and government buildings, would sustain catastrophic damage or be rendered useless as a result. Because of this, the supply of basic services would be hampered, and the population that would be affected would be left in a situation of disorder and exposure. It is likely that for an extended period of time, fundamental conveniences such as clean water, electricity, and communication networks will be disrupted, which would make an already precarious situation even worse. Response to emergencies and preparation for them. Because of the possible scale of the impending disaster, having a reaction plan and being prepared for it is absolutely necessary in order to lessen the impact on human life and the economy. Comprehensive strategies for disaster management need to be developed, and local governments, national organizations, and international organizations should all work together on this. In order to reduce the risk of human life as much as possible, these plans ought to place primary emphasis on early warning systems, evacuation tactics, search and rescue operations, medical support, and the development of temporary shelters. Participation in the community and education. Participation in the community and education are two essential aspects of emergency preparedness. Raising awareness among the general population about earthquake safety measures, such as correct building codes, evacuation procedures, and emergency supply packs, has the potential to save lives. Individuals and communities would also benefit from regular drills and simulations, which would help them practice their reaction methods and improve overall preparation and resilience. Investing in capacity to withstand adversity and infrastructure. It is necessary to make significant financial expenditures in both resilience and infrastructure in order to reduce the likelihood that a 7.9 magnitude earthquake will inflict significant damage and disruption. It is possible to greatly lessen the severity of the damage caused by such a catastrophic catastrophe by fortifying buildings, bridges, and other essential infrastructure to conform to stringent seismic regulations. In addition, the implementation of steps to secure utilities and communication networks will promote an effective response and aid in the efforts to recover from the disaster. What happened in Los Angeles? The city of Los Angeles and the environs surrounding it are well known for their susceptibility to earthquakes because they are located near the infamous San Andreas Fault. These areas have the potential to sustain considerable damage and significant shaking in the event that a major seismic event occurs. The city has made considerable gains in strengthening its infrastructure and installing safety measures in response to its long history of earthquakes. But there is still the possibility that the earthquakes will cause significant damage. The San Andreas Fault is infamous for causing large earthquakes, and some of the tremors it has caused in California's history are among the state's most devastating ever recorded. As a direct consequence of this, Los Angeles and the communities that surround it are at an increased danger of being affected by seismic activity. In the event of a significant quake along the San Andreas Fault, the region may be subject to devastating repercussions. The shaking would be very severe and go on for a considerable amount of time, possibly even several minutes. It is possible for there to be catastrophic damage caused to tall buildings, bridges, and other infrastructure, which could result in the collapse of structures and extensive devastation. The densely populated metropolitan districts of Los Angeles, which are characterized by their high-rise skyscrapers and intricate network of roadways, would be at increased risk. During the earthquake, the possibility of casualties and injuries is one of the most pressing concerns that people have. This threat is made far more severe by the high human density that characterizes Los Angeles and the areas immediately adjacent to it. There are millions of people living in this area, which means that the aftermath of a significant earthquake could overwhelm the institutions that handle emergency situations. In situations like this, it is of the utmost importance to make sure the public is safe and to have proper evacuation procedures. The obvious dangers: an earthquake can also cause secondary dangers. In coastal regions, some of these hazards include landslides, liquefaction, and tsunamis. The steep landscape that surrounds Los Angeles renders the area prone to landslides, which have the potential to bury homes and shut down roadways. The phenomenon known as liquefaction, which occurs when soil becomes saturated and briefly loses its strength, can result in the toppling or sinking of structures. Tsunamis can be caused by earthquakes that occur deep below the ocean surface, and they pose a threat to coastal towns. It is essential to point out that Los Angeles has made great progress in the seismic safety measures that have been implemented. The building codes have been brought up to date to make sure that buildings are able to resist earthquakes to a certain degree. In order to improve the strength of existing buildings and infrastructure, retrofitting projects have been put into place. There have been upgrades made to emergency response systems, and there have been programs to raise awareness among the general population regarding earthquake preparedness. In spite of all these efforts, it is impossible to eradicate all dangers because earthquakes can occur at any time and are difficult to foresee. As a result, it is absolutely necessary for people and communities to adopt preventative measures in order to get ready for seismic events. This includes putting together emergency kits, coming up with plans for your family to follow in the event of an emergency, and taking part in simulations and exercises to practice reaction methods. The San Andreas Fault and other fault lines in the region are still being researched and monitored by a variety of professionals, including scientists, engineers, and legislators. Their research contributes to a better understanding of earthquake behavior, as well as the development of improved early warning systems. These devices can provide essential seconds to minutes of advance notice, enabling individuals the opportunity to take cover, shut down equipment, and activate emergency processes. The San Andreas Fault has long been of interest to geologists, seismologists, and the general public because of its prominence as a geological feature in California. One of the most well-known and possibly deadly fault lines in the world, it stretches for about 800 miles throughout the state. Scientists have been frustrated by the San Andreas Fault's lack of recent activity despite the fault's fame and significance, because it has left them wondering when a huge earthquake would strike. The San Andreas Fault separates the Pacific Plate from the North American Plate in the west and the other way around. Numerous faults and geological characteristics can be traced back to the relentless motion of these plates, which is known as plate tectonics. The plates are sliding past each other in opposite directions along the San Andreas Fault, a process known as a transform boundary. Numerous large earthquakes have occurred along the San Andreas Fault over the ages, the most notable of which was the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, which was responsible for severe destruction and loss of life. Since then, researchers have been observing the fissure to learn more about its dynamics and make predictions about when and where earthquakes can occur. The San Andreas Fault's complexity presents researchers with a number of difficulties. Several distinct parts make up the whole, and they all move at unique speeds. The fault is not a single uninterrupted line, but rather a complex system of faults that are all linked together. Because of this intricacy, predicting the exact location and timing of the next significant earthquake is challenging. Long stretches of calm along the fault also contribute to the ambiguity. Seismic quiescence, where the San Andreas Fault is passive for long stretches of time, is known to have occurred. Because these lulls in activity can last decades at a time, they give people a false sense of security and make it difficult to predict when a major earthquake will occur along the fault line. While researchers keep their eyes on the San Andreas Fault, those who live in potentially seismic areas should get ready. Major damage from an earthquake can be mitigated through practice exercises, emergency preparations, and public education campaigns. Ahead of the onset of the earthquake waves, early warning systems have also been developed, providing precious seconds to minutes of advance notice. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. Hit the like button if you like this video, and share this video with your family and friends. Hit the notification bell to receive notifications so you don't miss any future uploads. Thank you for watching.